we are live, guys. Welcome back to episode 3 of Grunt Talk. And today's segment, kind of giving a little bit more insight of my experience being in the military and kind of things I went through when I was in. So if you guys are just tuning into Grunt Talk is me, a former grunt, serving the United States Army, talking about my experiences in the military, whether it be war related or just the experience that we kind of go through in the normal, and also interviewing others who are able to give their insight as well to try to normalize to everybody else what we kind of go through and those kind of transitions. So on that topic, episode 3, I think for me that's kind of hitting on the home where I think a lot of people lose that connect with people is transitioning out of the military. And why that's so hard for people is you're getting a group of people who have put in their time, their work, their effort, their blood, literally sweat and tears to progress in their careers that they were trying to do and make it a successful time for themselves. Whatever branch you serve, and anybody who has served knows this feeling. It's very hard to go from something like that where you are respected, as long as you've done the work and you've become a very good leader, you will get that respect given to you. It's a little bit, of course, favoritism in certain things. That kind of happens with everything in life, kind of a double standards in a sense. But if you have good enough leaders, that double standard is very, very minute. Now, why it's hard for people to transition is you're coming from a set environment, a set structure that, for the most part, everybody's following. Everybody has a set of standards. Now, going to a civilian life, not everybody has those fucking standards, and not everybody gives a fuck about those standards. We do, but it's very hard to transition to a civilian aspect for that reason. For myself, it was definitely hard. Definitely going from getting promoted very fast, being in charge of people, having my ups and downs, don't get me wrong, where at one point people consider me a shitbag. I mean, not to my own fault. I had an eye injury, kind of put me on sideline. Wasn't really doing much. Wasn't really with the platoon. But hey, it happened. I wound up being a very good leader in my eyes to my men and have a lot of good memories for that reason. But the big thing for me, what was hard, was transitioning, right? Having a sense of purpose, having a sense of brotherhood, to going back, and I actually got out early from my kind of contract with the military because I got out early in regards to going to college. At the time, I'm not too sure anybody who's still in, I don't know if you can still do this, but at the time you were able to get out a little bit early to go to school. So I got about 3 months early from when I was supposed to get out. And with all intentions, I was supposed to go to school right away. Now the hard part for myself was going from a structure, signing up when I was super young at the age of 17, then all of a sudden going back to civilian life, kind of waking up when I want to, but then going to school where, yeah, there's veterans there, but for the most part, a good majority of them weren't grunts, so I really couldn't relate to them. And just going back to school was a fucking challenge. Anybody who knows me, I was actually very smart in regards to school. I just fucking hate school with a passion. I see no fucking need. I see the connection aspect, but that is it. Nothing else. I despise school with a passion. So going there, waking up to go all the way to San Diego to learn software, to learn a certain amount of design. I was going to a trade school for graphic and web design, the Art Institute in California. So going from a structure that I never really used the computers in that aspect. I did for admin stuff, but never to where I had to, like in this aspect. such a 9-day difference, and I felt so overwhelmed. I felt so stupid. And small things, I just realized then and there, I couldn't really communicate how I used to. I was very outgoing before in the military, and it was hard to try to relate to a civilian, to relate to anybody else, and try to have a human connection for that reason. There was classes that I took, like an art class that I fell in love with because that was my first passion, actual fine art, which is like drawing and stuff of that nature. But it was just such a huge disconnect. It was hard. It was definitely hard for me. And I hit my lows. I think at one point I came about 99% sure that I was going to kill myself. And that was a low. That was a low. Looking back at it now, for all my military brothers who are transitioning and who have transitioned, small things that we overlook, such as calling the VA for help, the hotline and stuff like that, just talking to somebody is such a great thing. And I think we overlook that so much because we're so proudful. It happens. But looking back at it now, the resources that I have now in regards to the VA actually helping me out, I wish I did that. Another thing that fucks us up when we transition out, depending on what branch, of course, everybody kind of does a better job, especially whatever unit or brigade you're part in. And when I was getting out, they didn't give a fuck. They didn't. Yeah, they prepped you for classes. Someone did a resume with you, but they didn't fucking prep you to go do something, to relate to people again, to really get back into the tune of things. And I think it's one thing that everybody chain of command has to kind of work on, where when you come back from war, you have about 30 days back in garrison, which is just being back on base. So have the weekends off, so really just uploading stuff from what you were doing before and trying to stay in that normal basis. Then you get to go home, go on leave. Even in those 30 days, to come from a war setting even back to garrison is such a hard fucking concept. And then going home, I mean, I was fine, but I know a lot of my brothers, unfortunately, couldn't relate. It was hard for them. And that same correlation kind of goes with everything. It becomes so hard for them once they came back to seeing their brothers die and trying to stay in the army and be a good soldier, but having these fucked up demons and then either getting kicked out or ETS, meaning their contract is done and getting out. It's so hard. The closest thing I can relate it to is almost like a prisoner being in prison his whole life and trying to go back to society. I think the Shawshank Redemption actually does a very good scene of the old guy where he tries to go back to regular life and he doesn't know what to do. He's so used to certain things. I found myself saying certain things, asking certain questions because I was so used to that mannerisms. Now, don't get me wrong, we're no fucking prisoners, nothing in that sense, but that's the closest connection I have that if people have seen that movie, you can kind of connect with it. It was so hard to accept, right, that I had a problem where at that point I had given up drinking already, so I didn't go to that realm and try to use that as escape. I just really got refocused on my training, to be honest. I just started training a lot more, dieting, and started doing competitions, and that actually kind of relieved a lot of stress for me and made it a lot easier to relieve any stress that I had, whether it be pissed off, angry, any emotion I fucking had, and just let it out. A lot of times, if you guys have family members, friends who are transitioning out of the military, who are just coming back from war, give them a little bit of time. It takes a little bit. I'm pretty sure we all have those friends, those family members who have served, may have seen some fucked up shit in war, and they're they're a little fucking off. I can usually tell with my brothers when something's off with them, but I relate so well. It's just a closeness that every service member will always have with each other. It doesn't matter what branch you serve with. You can always kind of connect on some level. But if you guys have some of those family members or friends who are having a hard time transition to the civilian life, have them call the 1-800 hotline, have them call a friend, call them more often, hang out with them more often, because until you really relate with that person, it's so hard to try to be in that same mindset. But guys, this is episode 3, season 2 of Grunt Talk. Much more to come. Thanks for tuning in.